talk first. I don't know if a lot of people know about the Center for Rural Affairs. Talk about what that is and what you do there.
Yeah. Well, I've spent my entire professional life at the Center for Rural Affairs, 36 years. And the center works to create a better future in rural America, rural Nebraska. We help people get started in farming and ranching. We've helped 10,000 small businesses get started or strengthen themselves through loans, training, help putting together good business plans. And we work on public policy. We've helped lead the fight in Washington and in Lincoln for public policies that are fair and provide a level playing field to family farms and ranches, to small business and small towns.
Certainly, as you continue this race and campaign, you'll see in some ways there's a real urban-rural divide in this state. Do you see a way that can be bridged a little bit?
Well, I think that the divide has to be bridged because, we're all Nebraskans. And, for Nebraska to be as strong as it can be and for Nebraska to achieve its full potential, every Nebraskan and every community has to have the opportunity to fulfill their potential. So I think that most Nebraskans understand that we're really in this together, and for our state to be strong, all of its communities need to be strong, and all of its people have to have access to genuine opportunity.
Let's talk a little bit about the Senate race. You were in there as a Democrat, ready to go. Bob Kerrey decides he wants to be in there. You bow out gracefully and graciously to do that. Any bitter taste in your mouth about that, though, and how that all sort of took place?
No, one of the things I've learned in life is that holding grudges only hurts the person who holds the grudge. It would only hurt me, and so, I just moved on. I mean, when you get involved in races, you understand that two things can happen. One of them is great, one of them is not so great, and so you don't always win. But if you believe in public service and you really are committed to trying to make things better in this state, then you hang in there and you keep fighting. And
there's a Senate seat opening up in 2014 also. Why'd you decide to go for the governor's chair instead of try for the Senate again? Well,
governor's a really good place to help build a better future in Nebraska. This is my home. I mean, I've spent every year of my life, my entire life, living in Nebraska. I have deep roots here. I have great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents who homesteaded in Nebraska. This is my state. I'm rooted in its soil. I want to make things better here. And you can do some of that through the Senate, too, but the difference is, one of the big differences, is Nebraska's a place that works. We have more partisanship in Nebraska than I would like sometimes, but the fact is, our legislature and our state house still work. Washington doesn't work anymore. They're not working together to solve problems. They're fighting with each other over the next election, and it's frankly not a very good place to get things done and not a very appealing way to spend your time.
You brought up partisanship. It's been a tough road for Democrats recently in Nebraska elections. Can a Democrat win the big offices anymore?
Well, a Democrat can win in Nebraska, but to win in Nebraska, a Democrat has to do much better than Democrats have done in the past in addressing the very real concerns of people, not just in Lincoln and Omaha, but in all of Nebraska. In our smaller cities in Nebraska, in our rural areas, we face a unique set of challenges, and I think Democrats have done a poor job of speaking to those, frankly. And so I intend to get out there and work on the real issues that confront rural Nebraska, the small cities of Nebraska, with a focus on small business development and ensuring that our regulatory system is not biased against small business, supporting wind energy development, and ensuring that our educational system is working to give every Nebraskan the skills and education they need to succeed in the 21st century.
Yeah, let's talk about that education platform. You've mentioned the need for expanding the pre-K portion of that, and the pre-kindergarten and the early childhood learning. Why is that so important to you?
Well, let me say, first of all, I spent 18 years on the Board of Regents working to ensure that higher education, the better life it affords, was accessible to all Nebraskans who are willing to do the work and prepare themselves. But one of the things I realized is if we don't address pre-K, a lot of folks are, the higher education is out of the question, because we have too many kids in Nebraska who start kindergarten already so far behind that the odds are against them from day one. every Nebraskan, every one of us has a stake in that, because these are Nebraska kids, and if they don't achieve to their potential, then our state doesn't achieve to its potential. So I believe that the best long-term investment we can make in the future of this state is in preschool, so that we enable every kid in Nebraska, at least we give every kid in Nebraska the opportunity to start kindergarten prepared to learn and succeed.
Now let's jump back to that higher education. You've got a unique vantage point with all of your time on the Board of Regents. Where do you think the Nebraska university system ranks with others in the country?
Well, I think the system ranks well. We offer a good quality education. We do, I think, you know, if not far from here, if you look at the University of Nebraska Kearney, it's a very good teaching campus. I think if you look at all of our campuses, we do a good job of teaching. In some of our campuses, we're doing more research, and that's become an economic driver in part of the state. So I think we have a very strong university system. I think it's the single most important institution to the future of this state. You know, when I look out there at where we really need to beef up higher education, one of the places where I think we need to put more resources, though, is our community college system. We have good community colleges in this state, but right now we need to do more, I think, with workforce training and job training, skills training. We have a lot of families in Nebraska who are struggling to make ends meet on low-wage jobs, and at the same time, we have some very good jobs in the skilled trades, welding, for example, where we don't have enough Nebraskans with the skills, with the training to fill the jobs. And so that's hurting our businesses, large and small, who are unable to hire the people they need, and that holds them back and holds back our entire economy. And at the same time, it denies opportunity for families that need it. So I think the best short-term investment we can make in the future of this state is in job training. As governor, I would work with our businesses to identify the key needs. Welding's one of them, but there are others. And then help get the resources in place so our community colleges can gear up and train enough people to meet the needs of our businesses.
In this community, we hear a lot from Hastings College that sometimes the state of Nebraska does not do enough for them, that they are ignored, whereas other states, Colorado and Iowa, include some of the private institutions in some of their educational spending. Where do you stand on where that should be?
Well, I think private institutions like Hastings College are a great asset to this state. I mean, they are private institutions, and so, by their very nature, they're going to rely on public funding. But I think they're important to the future of this state. They make a great contribution to this future of the state, and we're lucky to have them.
Let's talk about another platform. You're talking about jobs and increasing jobs. We certainly hear that from everybody out on the campaign trail. We need more jobs. And how are you able to specify, or not just specify, but how are you able to get more jobs for people in Nebraska?
Well, there's a couple areas I think we need to do more in. One is wind. We have the nation's third best wind for generation of electricity. But, you know, if you get in your car in the front range of the Rocky Mountains and you drive across the plains of eastern Colorado through Nebraska and across western Iowa to Des Moines, the place you see the fewest wind turbines is Nebraska, the state with the best wind. Now there's a reason for that. Colorado and Iowa encourage wind development. Nebraska discourages wind development, in part with its tax policy. You know, we don't charge sales tax on coal to generate electricity. We don't charge sales tax on manufacturing equipment or farm equipment, but we charge it on wind generation equipment. Now, the legislature took a first step to address that, I think, though an inadequate step last week when they just eliminated the sales tax on wind equipment. I, myself, think they would have done much better to adopt Senator Ken Schill's amendment that would have said to the mostly out-of-state developers who will take advantage of that tax break that to get it, they need to support Nebraska businesses. They need to buy some of their inputs in Nebraska. So they help Nebraska businesses supply the wind industry, create jobs, and also they need to create employee stock ownership plans so that the Nebraska men and women who climb those towers to keep those turbines running can share in a little bit in the ownership of the wind farms and the wealth they generate.
Yeah, and we just saw the governor signing that bill yesterday, although really more because of his sales tax portion in Omaha than his real support of the bill for wind energy. Do you agree with the governor on that and the way he approached that bill?
Well, I mean, I think he did the right thing to sign it. I just think we need to come back to it and improve it and fix it. And I was disappointed the legislature didn't do it right from the start. I mean, we need to develop our wind, but we need to develop it right in a way that maximizes its potential to create good jobs and opportunity and build wealth for Nebraskans. One other area I stress in job creation is small business development. You know, small businesses and family farms and ranches have long been the backbone of the greater Nebraska economy, but they really get overlooked often in economic development policy. You know, in some respects, we do some good things in Nebraska. We do some funding for loans and training and business planning assistance for small business. I helped write the Nebraska Advantage Microenterprise Tax Credit, which is really the only tax credit in the nation at a state level designed for micro businesses with up to 10 employees. But those programs are underfunded, and it seems like almost every year somebody's trying to take the money out of them and focus it on big business development. As governor, I put a real priority on small business. You know, we have a whole new generation of small business opportunities. You know, manufacturing's coming back from China. There are new technologies coming online that will make small manufacturers and machine shops competitive. And the broadband, the internet's a game changer. I have a friend by the name of George Johnson who lives in Cody, Nebraska, and he has a business in Cody, Nebraska, producing culinary vinegars. And these are the finest culinary vinegars in America. He sells them to the best restaurants in New York City and San Francisco from Cody, Nebraska, a town of 140 people in the Sandhills. He couldn't do that with the internet, but today with the internet, the opportunities for small business development are unlimited. We have another one in our little town of Lyons. It's called Soup and More. They make dried organic soups, sell them around the region, around the nation. Again, the internet is opening a whole new generation of opportunities for small business in Nebraska, but state government needs to get behind those small businesses and support their development. I think that's absolutely essential to our future. One other thing we can do for small business, you know, I want to do a comprehensive review of state regulations to ferret out the biases against small enterprise in regulation and regulatory policy. I worked a year ago or so with a small dairy farmer at Spalding, Nebraska, who's doing what you're supposed to do as a small farmer, adding value to his product by producing cheese. But state regulators almost put a stop to it. They said, you got to build a new addition on your barn just to house the separator, the machine that separates the cream from the milk. And they said he couldn't put it in the clean room where he also stored his milking equipment. Now, that kind of regulation is just silly. It makes our food not one whit safer, but it can kill the entrepreneurial spirit and kill jobs and kill opportunities. So as governor, I will recognize that we need regulation to protect human health and safety. We need some regulations to protect the environment, but I will work to make sure it's not biased against small enterprise. Because some of those things, they work fine in a big factory, but they don't work on a small farm and a small business. We need regulation that's fair and unbiased towards small business.
Let me ask about a final question here. The ethanol industry, at one point it was the great promise of agriculture. Mm-hmm. Some harder times falling on the industry lately. Where do you see the future of that?
Well, I think that the ethanol industry has brought some real jobs and opportunity to rural Nebraska and some of our Nebraska cities. I think that in the future, I think we're going to see more movement toward producing fuels from cellulosic materials. I think there is a limit to how much corn we can produce. We can't produce enough corn to feed the nation's to fuel all the nation's vehicles. So I think we're going to see more interest in various types of biological fuels that are based on cellulose and other types of materials. So I think the growth is not going to be quite as fast in biofuels as it was for a period of time, but there will be growth. But it'll be more in cellulosic type fuels.
We've got a lot here. Thank you very much. Anything else that you want to add?
No, I think that covered. Well, I'll say one other thing.
Okay.
About taxes.
Okay, yeah.
You know, from my standpoint, the way we create jobs and opportunity in Nebraska is by investing in education, small business development, and developing our renewable energy sources. Now, some say that we create jobs in Nebraska by eliminating income taxes, or particularly by cutting the income tax rate on the rich, or the top earners. I strongly disagree. Because when you set out to eliminate income taxes or cut the rate dramatically for the top earners, two things happen, and neither is good. One is that you shift taxes to ordinary families less able to pay, and the other is that you squander our capacity to invest in creating jobs and opportunity for the future. You don't have the resources left to invest in the education we need to enable Nebraskans to get good jobs in the 21st century. You don't have the resources that it takes to support small business development. So I think we need to look at refining our tax system, but I'm not going to support a shift in taxes from top earners or a cut in taxes for top earners at the expense of investment in our future or at the expense of modest income working families.
All right. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.